Hey there, everybody. Thank you so very much once more for stopping by and checking out TLC Presents Todd-versations. We're very honored to have your time and attention and bringing you some subjects and some people that share some ideas and philosophies about what's going on in the world. We think it's so important to elevate these conversations. And I'm really, really happy to have a buddy of mine sitting over here next to me. Please, everybody, give it up to my friend Bob Kirch, please. Welcome, brother. Welcome, brother Bob.
Yeah, welcome. Thank you for having me on, Todd. This is a pleasure and an honor.
Oh, dude, the honor is mine, believe me. And for everybody that doesn't know Bob, he's got a great history in our industry. But more importantly, Bob's on a new venture in his life, which really intrigues me, which is why I've asked him to come on and share with us. Bob's now the managing partner at Kirch Equity Investments. And today I really want to talk about what is the investment community? What does it mean? What is it all about? Because so much press and so many things are talked about: Series A, Series B, Series D, angel investors, this 400 million here, 300 million here. And everybody just sees money getting thrown at everything, but there's a strategy behind it. There's a process behind it. There's a thought process. And so I want to peel that back a little bit. And I couldn't think of a better person to talk to with you, because you come from the heart when you look at this stuff. And I was so taken aback by the time we shared talking about this, about your philosophies. And I want to get into that. I think it's super important. So again, welcome and thank you for hanging out with me today.
Yeah, you bet. Now I'm looking forward to this.
Cool. So for those that don't know, let's just start. Would you just kind of give everybody a little bit of your journey working in the family business and you know who you are and everything else?
Yeah. So when I was graduating from college at Butler University here in Indianapolis, I
go Bulldogs.
What now? Yeah, go Dogs.
Bulldogs.
Yeah, that's right. Go Bulldogs. And met my wife Kelly, or at the time, it was my girlfriend or my fiance, and I was getting ready to graduate. Like I said, I was getting ready to work for Kraft, and worked there for a little bit, and they wanted to move me to Springfield, Illinois, and I told my wife or my fiance at the time, Kelly, and I go, hey, guess what? Got a promotion. We're moving to Springfield, Illinois. And she's like, we're not moving to Springfield, Illinois. Go talk to my dad and see if he'll give you a job. So I said, okay, well, let's talk about that. So, I did talk with my father-in-law, Joe, or soon to be father-in-law, Joe, and he gave me an opportunity. I was, I didn't know what to think. I thought to myself, well, I'll jump into this. I have no idea what produce is and what it's all about. Family business, might as well just give it a try. So, jumped right in, and boy, I tell you what, it was probably one of the best decisions I ever made. The experience was just unbelievable. I was really, truly blessed to have the opportunity. It was a fantastic experience. And when you're in the moment, you don't really realize that, because you're grinding and you're working hard and you're, going through the journey, and you don't really have a lot of experience outside the only one I really had. I mean, I had little experience at Kraft and that experience, but when you're a 22, 23-year-old kid, you just don't really appreciate sort of what you have or what you're going through. Boy, it was a wonderful journey and, a great opportunity. I tell you that, me being an in-law, outlaw, son-in-law, depending on the day of the week, right?
Been there, done that.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So, I knew what I was getting myself into. I knew that, I was going to have people view me, or have preconceived notions of what could potentially, how I could potentially be, or some expectations. So, I had to work really hard to just, gain trust and gain some loyalty, and, make everyone understand that, I was here to work side by side with you and just, learn and hustle and just, try to make this place, make Kaido Foods, the best place it could be. So I think over time I gained everybody's respect. I mean, I'm sure there's a few people I didn't, but for the most part, I did. And it was really a great opportunity. So I'm very blessed. I mean, what I really loved about, just, Kaido Foods in general is just, we just had a lot of energy, a lot of passion. Phil and Joe built an unbelievable culture. And,
sure.
And what was wonderful is that everybody in the company had some sense of ownership. And, man, I tell you, it's a really valuable thing to have in an organization, when you got everybody sort of rowing in the same direction, everybody passionate about what they're doing. It was just a wonderful experience. And we were able to, grow and build a business into something really, tremendous. And again, I give a lot of credit to, the culture Phil and Joe built, and the platform that we were able to really just grow and prosper in.
Right. I love that. And again, I thank you. And I didn't say it in the beginning, I didn't bring up Kind of Foods, right? And I want to lean into that now because because you've got this great trajectory, right? You've built a great family business, but then all of a sudden, like a lot of family businesses, you get to the point of like, okay, what's next? Are we going to keep moving forward? We're going to think about an exit strategy, where it's going to be. So, and you guys went down that trail. You talked about, you got to the point of like, hey, we need to make, this is what we want to do next. And so you went from essentially sitting around the dinner table with your family, talking about how to run this business and the things that you're going to do, to all of a sudden, now you're answering to shareholders from around the globe that you're never going to meet, that don't care one lick about your day. They only care about their own. And now you're working for a Fortune 500 company. And I'm imagining that's kind of like switching from, regular coffee to decaf. It's definitely a shock in the morning. Can you share a little bit about that transformation and how that changed you a little bit?
Yeah, some of those roundtable family discussions, were one of some of the best memories I've ever had. We just, we learned, I learned so much, and a lot of those were, they were valuable experiences. We laughed, we cried, we shouted, we argued, we did all those things that you would imagine a typical family business would do. But again, at the end of the day, we're always focused on the customer and focused on growing the business, and we're always aligned from that standpoint. And when we sold, and again, like you said, every family business has sort of their life cycle and sort of how they go about it and how they look at it. And when we made the decision to sell, the family, it was the right decision. Looking back. I think it was the right decision for the shareholders in the second generation. And Spartan Nash, who bought Kind of Foods, they were a wonderful company. Again, but they're a publicly traded company, a $9 billion business. We were significantly smaller than that. We were a good size, but we weren't anywhere near that size. So fitting us into their mix and us being part of a bigger organization was definitely different for us. They had a different culture. Now I wouldn't say their culture was bad. It was just different. One of the things, I learned a lot. I was there for 2.5 years, under Spartan Nash, and obviously, very different, right? So, there was more structure. They had compliance, they had more meetings, they had earning calls. These are things that I never had to experience. So, on one hand, it was a great experience because I learned a lot and I really understood the workings of how a publicly traded company has to work and report to the public. But it was different. In a family business, you were able to move on a dime.
Right.
Decisions came quicker. We were able to just, move at a faster pace and take advantage of opportunities. And I think within our industry, as you well know, Todd, there's a lot of family businesses and people in companies and customers really like when you can move quicker and move a little bit faster. So, from that standpoint, I really appreciated working for a family business where you were able to make, quicker, faster decisions. With a publicly traded company, I understood why they couldn't make decisions, as fast because, they had these compliance things that they had to deal with. They had to deal with the public. They had to deal with things that, that a privately held company didn't have to deal with. Again, we just had more meetings, more PowerPoints. We analyzed a lot, and I think we overanalyzed, probably to a point where it's like, you could sort of talk yourself out of the opportunity, but it was a good experience. There's a reason why I probably decided to move on, was just because I wanted to get back to my entrepreneurial spirit. I think that's sort of how I grew up in the industry and grew up professionally, and so that's why I wanted to. That's why I moved on. But Spartan Nash is a wonderful company, and they got great people there, and they're doing some really great things. So. Just different ways of going about businesses, and you got to understand why, because of just the complexities of things.
Well, you said something I think I want to kind of lean into a little bit. You talked about in a family business you have the ability to create your culture, right, and during that time, that transition, when you went to Spartan, you now inherited a culture. That's right. And when you have culture A and culture B coming together, that's a challenge, right? That's, that's a managerial challenge. That's a structural challenge. That is what someone's, what you used to do. Not that it's a bad thing. You've got to do it this way now. Not that that's bad, but that's the way it has to be.
Right.
And I think that's a real big challenge with a lot of companies that sell or move on or change generationally, whatever you want to say, however they want to do it, is that the cultural part of that, I think, has probably got to be a challenge. There's not really a rule book to overcome those cultural differences in some ways.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree with you more. Like I said, it's not bad. It just was different.
No,
and, again,
no, exactly.
Yeah. And so those are the things that, I again, just had to sort of work through. But yeah, no, again, it was the journey was unbelievable, and the experience there, just, growing up in that environment, we were a typical hedgehog company. We were, deeply passionate about what we did. We really just, we loved selling produce. We loved, connecting with customers. We did it. In our minds, we did it better than anybody else in the world. And, we knew how to make money doing it. And,
right.
It was a lot of fun. And we just, met some great, wonderful people along the way. A lot of the people that still work at Kaido Foods or have moved on to do other things are still very close friends. And, it was a wonderful culture. And I was just happy to be part of it and able to watch that company grow and prosper.
So I want to get into the equities part of all this, where you're heading now, what you're up to, because I think it's just so fascinating. And I think it's going to be neat for people to hear, especially as young startups. I do a lot of work in the startup space, and I've been around it for a while, and it's really intriguing and interesting. And I know it's just not always about money with the startup. And so I think it's important to I want to touch on that a little bit as well. But let's just go right to the very beginning. What is an angel investor? Let's just break it down for folks.
Yeah, an angel investor, for the most part, they provide capital for a business, usually early stage investing, right? Seed stage, early stage. They'll come in and usually in a form of, convertible note, or in my case, it's equity in a business. It just depends on, how you want to go about it. But yeah, it's usually early stage investing, and it's usually an individual. Sometimes it's a fund. I invest personally into, companies, but I'm also I'm an LP, a limited partner in a fund where they do the same thing, where I learn and just have a broader perspective when you're, an LP in a bigger fund that invests early stage stuff.
Right.
So, that's really what it is. They just come in, they provide capital, and, in my case, and in probably most people's cases, when you're in early stage, you're providing more than just capital. You're providing, some strategic value. And what I mean by that is, you're providing a network, right? Access to maybe more capital, or access to a customer, or someone that can help you grow the business, at a much, faster pace.
Right.
It's wisdom, it's mentorship. Those are the type of things that, usually an angel investor will also bring to the table as well. So that's really what, an angel investor is for the most part.
Well, so tell me a little bit, because this is what intrigued me about our talk. And this is where I really want to kind of get into now, is because you're investing from the heart. So share with me a little bit about your personal investment philosophy.
Yeah. Look, when I look at the companies I invest in, I try to invest in companies that are making a positive impact in people's life and in humanity, and I'll give you a couple of examples. A couple of business that, I'm involved in, they're centered around, health and wellness, reducing the carbon footprint, work health safety. A company called Preventia that I'm involved in. They're a telehealth network that combines lifestyle and behavioral health coaching with fresh food delivered in a marketplace. So, and
that's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's really cool. And what I like about it is because most of, you believe it or not, most Americans, they don't have the education on how to eat right or exercise. And in some cases, maybe they're dealing with something with, mentally they're struggling with something, and they need someone to talk to. Especially this last, 18 months, 2 years with COVID, there's a lot of people that probably need some help just talking with somebody and working with somebody. So this platform is a telehealth, behavioral health platform where they can log in, find a coach that they can talk to about, how to eat right, how to exercise better. If it's a behavioral or a mental health issue, they got someone they can talk to, a network. And this network, it spans across the globe, so which is really cool. Plus, they have access to a marketplace where they can find some of these, foods that help them, because it's not only exercise, right? It's also diet, right? So
Sure.
a lot of people don't have access. Sometimes they don't have access to the right foods, or they don't know how to prepare the meal to eat healthier. So we're trying to provide a platform or solution where people can not only educate themselves on how to do the right things in terms of diet and exercise, but also provide them a way where they can get some of these goods online, foods online to help them maintain and strive to hit their goals.
Well, I love that, because if there's one thing that in my personal opinion, on my soapbox with the microphone, is the lack of energy that we are putting into vitamins, minerals, supplements, food, exercise in the fight against COVID. Because we know the data's out there. Vitamin D seems to be helping. Zinc seems to be helping. Certain things seem to be helping, and we don't have enough conversations about it. So believe me, I am appreciative of what appreciative of what that company is. And I think it's great. And I think there's a good runway for that. So, I mean, that's really, your core values for yourself are coming into this. So how does your core values affect, kind of your decision-making process when you're looking at some of these companies?
This episode of Todd-versations is brought to you by RJO Produce. RJO Produce, closing the information gap in measuring fresh produce quality. Quality driven, quality delivered. Connect with us at rjoproduce.com.
What I look at, the core values and sort of my criteria when I look at a company is, are we dealing with good, strong, passionate people, good teams that really, really want to make a difference in the world, really want to make a difference within their organizations, and really create value in a meaningful way. I'm not looking to partner with people that are just looking for a quick buck. I'm looking for, people that are looking to build long-term value that's impactful to people's lives and humanity across the world. And, look, I'm not saying that every investment I have is centered around that, but the majority of my investments are. And it's just my way of trying to give back and invest in, companies that are going to really help, just humanity in general. It's sort of conscientious stewardship, I call it. A steward.
I like that.
Yeah, they're conscious and they're a steward of their business. They're a steward of their of people that are working for them. One of my sons is in one of our startups, and I get his perspective as being an employee and working for the founder. And it's important that I know that the founders and the management team are treating their people in the right way. They're motivating them. They're educating them. They're communicating with them. The worst thing, the one thing I always tried to do when I was, running Kaido Foods when I did, was always be as direct as I could possibly be and just communicate as much as I can, just to keep everybody in the loop and keep them motivated, keep them excited about, our strategy and our plan and what we were doing. I probably talk too much from time to time, but there's no such thing as over communication in my mind. But that's sort of where my core values, sit. And I want to be able to really, just help. And I always tell people all the time, when you're looking at investing, there's strategic capital and there's just capital, right? When I look at a cap table, and what a cap table is the people that, for people who don't know, it's the people that have invested in the business or the particular company. And when I look at the cap table, and I look on that cap table, I always look to see what type of people are investing in the business. If they have, their grandmother and their Aunt Millie and, somebody else on there that can't bring strategic, sort of value to the business, I always just wonder, like, okay, well, you need to bring the right people into the organization at the investment level to help you grow and really develop and take this company where you want it to go.
Mhm.
Because you can always get capital. It's just getting the right capital and getting the right people.
Well, you said something, you talked about guys that invest for the quick buck
Yeah.
versus guys that are going long term. I mean, and I want to get a little deeper into that as well, but is that really a problem? I mean, is it kind of like the pirates out there in the Caribbean that are just floating around all of a sudden, hey, scurvy, we're going to go grab stuff, and they pillage and bail? Is there guys out there that are actually have a runway that can get to be kind of that cheesy, or are they more, is it more of a perspective of like, hey, we're going to come in for a year and we're going to get our 2% back and we're bailing? Or is that kind of along those lines?
Look, every sort of PE firm or investment firm that invests has their own sort of criteria and thesis, and the ones that are up front that tell you, hey, look, we're going to invest in, look, we want to get our return in the next 3 years or 5 years or a year. As long as they're up front, they tell you, hey, then it's your decision to make if you want to, get in bed with them. But I think as long as you're upfront and direct, I think that obviously that's the right approach. So I'm not criticizing people that have that philosophy. I'm just saying that my philosophy is just, look, I want to invest in companies that are in it for the long haul, that are trying to create value. And look, will every company have that journey? Probably not. I'm not naive where I know that look, every business has their life, sort of their life cycle.
Sure.
But investing in businesses that have really, in my mind, that I believe that have long-term value and that have the same philosophy as I do is sort of those are the people and businesses I want to invest in. So
yeah, no, absolutely no criticism of anybody's style or what they're trying to do, but I think
I know you weren't saying that. I was just
but to get perspective, because I think it's look, again, people read somebody got $300 million, but they don't know what the hell that means. I mean, it's just because they read the headlines, they don't get into the weeds with it, which is why I want to kind of draw that out. So if you can, and I'm not throwing anybody under the bus here, you can decline this question if you'd like, but can you share about an investment or an opportunity your group had that you went and looked at and you walked away because it just didn't fit the moral benchmarks or, where you guys were at?
Yeah, I won't get into the details on the company, but there's been a couple of companies where, we'll go down the path, we'll meet with them, and it's an engaging conversation. They actually have a pretty good business model, and, there's market potential there, and you get excited about it. But then you dig a little bit deeper, and you peel back the onion, and you do a little due diligence on the management team, and in a couple of cases, we found some scars and some issues there, and we just backed away because we just didn't feel like, the integrity was there, and the discipline was there, and the focus was, and potential lack of focus. So, I think it's really important as an investor, you really do that due diligence, because there are people out there that can present really well. They talk really well. They're engaging. They're passionate. But you got to really do that diligence. You got to take that. You got to dig a little bit deeper and make sure that you're getting into bed with people that have the moral integrity and the purpose that you want to have, that you would like them to have.
I think that goes part and parcel with hiring people. I think it goes part and parcel with any kind of brand recognition. I think it's a part of building a brand. It's I say this all the time, and I really believe it, that if you're going to build something, you're going to build a brand, you're going to start a company, whatever it is, you have to start by putting your foot on the very first rung of the bottom of the ladder. And you have to go up one level at a time. If you start to skip or you start to jump too quickly, which people do, right? And you see that all the time. I think that's where you see some of these young companies get a little sideways, is because they spend more time chasing and putting out fires than they actually do putting energy into the proper steps to build. And I think that could become a real issue. And I think that if you're, as the point that we talked earlier, if you're not culturally aligned, if you're not philosophically ready, it's always about doing the right thing for the right reason with the right people. That's a very powerful combination. Yes. But, I could see where you walk in and it's like, wait a minute, this is a great company. They got potential to make good money. It's a great product, but here's this backside baggage that the public will never see until this baggage overwhelms the brand itself. And now we have problems trying to get out to marketplace. I'm assuming that's probably some of that paraphrased up a little bit.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And, there was a company we did invest in, and, it turned out to be okay because we sold to, we sold the business to somebody, in the industry that is going to eventually turn into something pretty special. And we got some backside, hopefully, interest down the road. But the CEO just lacked focus, and he was always chasing that shiny new object from week to week. And that really bothered me because it's like, okay, well, I invested in this business because of this particular market opportunity or, business, proposition. And it turned out to be, you're chasing something different every week. And it just, I see that, the red flag goes up because I'm like, okay, well, clearly they're losing focus and they're not focused on what's really going to help them grow and build a sustainable business. And so I get, when I see that, I get real concerned,
Well, I've seen it myself, and it's interesting because you've got a great product, but you have this lack of focus at the top. And once that happens, it becomes this domino effect all the way down, and it makes it a real challenge. I want to lean back. I want to lean into this trail a little bit that we're on.
Yeah.
So from your perspective, taking capital out of the equation,
Sure.
what's the biggest need that startups, that require to get off the ground? I mean, capital is an easy answer,
Sure.
right? But I think we got that part figured out. But I think you're leaning into such a great trail about morals and values and going down the right path to do the right thing. So besides capital, what type and what is the commitment?
Yeah, I would tell you that the three biggest things I see that startups need is they need mentorship. They need good mentors around them that have been there, done that. Those people have the wisdom, right? And I think, I sent you the quote the other day, you can't buy wisdom. Wisdom's something you can't purchase, right? And yourself, you got to experience that. Guys like us who are, guys in the business 20, 30 years, we're starting to have wisdom now because we've been there, done that. We've seen some things and we've done some things. And we can draw from those experiences. So some of these younger companies and some of these younger, individuals that are coming up, they just don't have those experience. They don't have the experience set. They don't have the wisdom. So they need that mentorship. They need the wisdom, and they need to help. They need people around them that can help them keep focused. And that's one of the biggest things because a lot of really smart entrepreneurial people, a lot of them are attention deficit, and they tend to focus, their focus is sometimes really, it's a challenge. So keeping them focused is another thing. And then really surrounding yourself with people that are well networked, that have access to the right people at the right time. I mean, that's a big thing too. A lot of times, there's one business where our cap table is really strong. We have a really great network. We can really help accelerate this business because we know that 3 or 4 people can open doors to, significant customers very quickly. And, that's a great value to have. I mean, it's not capital, but it's very strategic and it really help accelerate, business growth. Well, those are the things that really I see as, besides capital, those are the things, strong network, mentorship, and someone around them that can provide some wisdom.
So how much are you doing personally with some of these businesses? I mean, because I'm imagining if you're doing this for all the right reasons, right, and you're looking at this to make a social change,
sure,
you're just not phoning it in. So how involved are you with what you're doing?
Yeah, I mean, so there's some investments where they don't, it's not my, they don't necessarily need my expertise, but there's quite a few of them where I'm pretty hands-on. I'm talking to them on a weekly basis. I'm on 2 or 3 of their boards, so I'm, hands in, I'm in there working with them, strategically talking about, the direction of the company, talking with their management teams on just, how I can help them, grow, develop, I've put resources in there, for example. So they needed some consulting on some production and some different things. And so I just leverage my network to get those people into that business to help them. So I'm pretty hands-on when it comes to about 3 or 4 of the businesses. And, I really enjoyed it. It's my way to give back. It's my way to help protect my investment. I'm selfishly help, protect my investment, but no, I mean, but yeah, I mean, it's really fun. It's great to be able to just help and coach and, the people that the guys that are listening and that are engaging and that really want to learn. I mean, that's a lot of fun because you're making a difference and you're helping for the better.
I love that. I think it's important. I mean, so much I think from the investor world is that here's the money, see you later. And that's really not the case. And I think to your point, when you say you're protecting your investment, you're right. You're protecting your investment. Why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, people put money in a wallet. You know why? So they protect it in their pocket, right? You don't just pin it to your shirt or stick it in your coat, whatever. I mean, it just makes total sense. Yeah. So when you look at somebody, you look to walk in to invest with somebody, give me just, you walk in, what are the positive signs that like hit you right off? I mean, because looking at the balance sheets, again, we talked about that. Looking at the balance sheets, one thing, it's pretty cut and dry, but there's other signs around it. I want to kind of lean in a little bit on that. Like, what are the positive signs when you're assessing a startup that you sit there and go, oh, that's a great box to check for us?
Yeah. So I would say, the biggest thing is integrity. I'd start there as sort of the foundation is that, that the people we're dealing with, the team, the management team, has absolute integrity. That they're willing to listen and learn is another thing. A lot of, when I sit down and talk with someone, and I have a conversation, you can pick it up pretty quick if these people are willing to take criticism or constructive criticism, willing to learn, willing to engage. They're willing to do that. And they're smart and wise enough to surround themselves with really smart people. That's the other thing. I mean, a lot of times when you have a founder, and you see this, that they want to carry the ball every play. They think they know they have all the answers, and they don't think they need the help. And they sit there and complain to you about how they're working 80, 90 hours a week. And I'm like, well, okay, that's self-inflicting. You're doing this to yourself because you're not putting people around you to help you. And you trying to play hero ball, I call it, is not effective. And so, I look at that. I want to make sure that these the management teams or the founders are people that are willing to surround themselves with people, maybe even smarter than them. And again, being able to, assess yourself and say, hey, look, I'm really good at 3 or 4 things, but boy, I need someone around me to help me, with maybe these other things that I'm not so good at. And so, and that's being mature, and that's having some experience and just having some humility. But really, those are the things I look at there. And then the other thing is a positive track record. A lot of these folks that have been, in the startup world, they've done it before, right? So if they've done it before and they've had, positive outcomes, that's a really good sign. I always look at. And then, just, sort of that knowledge and experience, is the biggest thing. Have they done it before? That really helps.
You brought up again, and I want to go back to this because I think this is a really important part of not only startups, but businesses themselves, even existing businesses. You talk about weakness up at the top, and you talk about, a lot of the stuff that, you talk about somebody that's working 80, 90 hours a week. Well, I understand that drive, that inspiration, that passion. A lot of that too, I think, is a little bit of insecurity.
Sure.
Right. It's not letting go. It's not letting, I'm a big fan of Jack Welch. And one of the things Jack Welch talked about was surrounding himself by people way smarter than him because he doesn't know everything. His job is to keep the people that are super smart motivated. That's what a great CEO does. Right. And I find it interesting that you brought it up, and it's something that I try to teach when I'm working with my clients about, especially the top. It's like, you've got to let go, right? Going home to dinner with your family is not a crime, right? That reset, that repurpose is super. And I can imagine that, and you're seeing it, I'm seeing it company by company. You're seeing 10 at a time, or however many is in your portfolio at a time. So it's got to be something that's a trend that's out there with these young startups. And I think that the advice that I guess I'm seeking to throw out on the table, and I think you would agree with me, is these guys need to chill out a little bit and take a deep breath and recognize that they are not going to win the race today alone. Right. And to lean into people that can help them and to come alongside of them. And to your point earlier about mentorship, a lot of what I do and a lot of companies that I work with, that's a big part of it, is just being there to talk, being able to, whether you're talking them off a ledge or you're talking them up, or you're finding that point of inspiration today. Yep. I sent somebody a message yesterday that I was working with. I said, hey, just go tell somebody something good today. It'll make your day better. right? As a leader, it's like
Yeah.
uplift yourself in the deal. So I appreciate you saying that. And I'm not trying to pick on any CEOs or anybody that's out there, but I think it's really important for these young startups to recognize you are never going to win the race in one day. You will never, ever do it. You will lose the race in a day, but you will not win the race in a day.
That's right. Yeah.
So taking that first question, talking about the positive signs, let's get into the weeds a little bit. Tell me a little bit some of the red flags. I mean, you touched on it a little bit, but I think more specifically, you're looking at the leadership, you're looking at the books, this and that. And so give me some of the red flags that you just, because I would imagine that you go into these meetings and your red flag radar detector probably goes off in the first 15 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, so like we talked about lack of focus, it's interesting, these guys, some of these companies, that you talk to, they're trying to boil the ocean, right? They're trying to, they're trying to.
New t-shirt. T-shirt. That is out.
Right,
I'm
right,
taking.
yeah.
I'm right.
They're trying to boil the ocean. They're trying to do too much, and they have all these great ideas, and there's they're like, and it's a they think again, this is this lack of experience, but on their part, but they're trying to just do all these things, and it's like, okay, well, you realize you only have so much capital, you only have so many resources, you can't do all these great things, so you got to learn how to prioritize. And so it goes back to that focus. It goes back to the prioritization of, what's going to be the greatest value, long term. There may be a really good short-term gain here, but it may not be the best thing long-term for the company. So these are things that I look at as red flags when I'm talking to people: is how focused are you? How dialed in are you? How passionate are you about your business? And the other thing I look at, and this is not necessarily, this has to do with maybe the value prop or the business in general, is just how big's the market. I look at, like, if we're looking at a business, and they may have a really good value prop, but like the market's not that big, and it doesn't have the potential to be that big, or it's really crowded, and you're trying to get into a business that's highly consolidated. If someone came to me and said, "Hey, do you want to invest in a produce distribution company in the Midwest?" I'd say, well, not really. I mean, it's a consolidated business, right? I mean, there's just, there's a lot of players in it, and, there's not enough room for maybe another one, especially a startup. So, I would say, so again, it's just looking at market potential, market size, those type of things is something that I look at as a red flag. The integrity thing is big too, and we talked about that, right? I mean, just making sure that these guys are, they'll say certain, when they start and say certain things, and they, when you ask them a challenging question or direct question, how they answer it, is usually could be a red flag, and how they, answer the question, if they backtrack, if they don't know how to answer correctly. It's those are the things we look for, for the most part.
So you're kind of like Shark Tank, except you get to go deeper.
Yeah. Well, you need to. I mean, you're right. I mean, it is sort of like Shark Tank in a sense, right? I mean, I mean, I think it's all about just, a good fit, integrity piece, and,
right.
It's really.
What do you think, just kind of leaning into this a little bit, what do you think about all of this? Because this is a big topic. It certainly is in our space. What do you think about all this money coming into ag technology with all this, going public, huge greenhouses, vertical farms, all the stuff? I mean, there's literally billions of dollars being poured into an industry that's not producing $1 billion worth of sales. And I'm a big believer. I believe in ag technology. I think it's something we have to embrace if this planet's going to survive, and we're going to feed all these people, and we're going to do it effectively. I'm a big, it's not an and or to me, it's an and conversation. But what do you think about all of this that's going in now? Because there's just a shit ton of money getting thrown at this space. I mean, what's your opinion?
Well, look, it's a good question. I would say that, there is a future, right? There needs to be change. There's going to be change. There are, obviously these funds that are out there that are throwing money at this. They're trying to get ahead of it. They're trying to be the first, sort of mover on the ground floor. It's going to shake out eventually. I mean, I look at, I look at some of these grow houses that are coming up, and because I've been approached to invest in, in a couple of these these startups. And my question I always go to is like, okay, well, how much does a grow house generate in revenue per year? What's the sort of the economies of scale? Help me understand it. And maybe I'm talking to the wrong people, but they always have a hard time explaining it. And when they do, it's like, okay, so it can generate $10 million a year in revenue. Okay, well, that doesn't sound like it's going to solve a problem. I mean, it's not going to solve the problem that, because the problem is much bigger than $10 million top line.
Right.
And I get, if you put a bunch of them around the country, we'll start, nipping at, maybe some of the issues that we have from a carbon footprint standpoint, or, and food safety standpoint, and all those things that we talk about. But, it's early. There is a lot of capital in ag tech, and I think I think it's great because there's smart people out there that are going to solve these problems. And
For sure.
I think we're just going to have to be patient, and there's not one answer, but I believe that we'll figure it out. So,
well, and thank you for answering that, because it leads me into kind of my next question that I'm curious about, and that's kind of the VC lifespan. You touched on it a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
It seems like it's a and again, I'm putting up a big umbrella over a lot, but it seems like it's a 3 to 5 year investment before these guys want to get out, and gals, I shouldn't say guys,
sure.
Before these folks want to get out and get their money back. And I know that's great for the VC guys, right? I know it's great for the money guys. They've made their money, they got their 6%, whatever the number is, they're looking to get out. But when they exit, I mean, it certainly does change. The company changes when you start to put investment money into it, when you start to play to different masters, different philosophies, boards, all this other stuff. So from your position, swapping seats, right? So putting yourself into the small startup guy.
Yeah.
How much do you think those guys really how much energy do you think they put into the risk factor of bringing capital in? Because they've got this great idea and we know we could do it, but we need 50 more cents and we'll take that money. And then do they really prognosticate what the 3 to 5 year exit strategy is going to be of that money and where that company's really going to be? Do you think those guys can actually see that?
This episode of Todd-versations is brought to you by RJO Produce. RJO Produce, closing the information gap in measuring fresh produce quality. Quality driven, quality delivered. Connect with us at rjoproduce.com.
I think there's blinders on there. I mean, I do, as I talk with some of these, some of the companies that are, looking for, additional capital, they feel it, they know that they can get there. They just need that extra 50 cents like you were talking about. And so those blinders, I think the blinders come up to that, that potential risk, or what the outcome is going to potentially be. They may just say, look, man, I just want to get my company up and going and cash flow positive, and then I'll worry about the next step. And they probably don't put a lot of thought, and they probably need to consider and put more thought into this. Like, if I take this money, how's this going to change my ownership position? How's it going to change my position potentially in the company long term? And because some founders think, okay, well, I'm just going to be the president and CEO of this company forever. I mean, people are investing in me. I mean, they're going to want to keep me here for the long term. And that's not the case, right? I mean, because as like you said, as companies recapitalize and you bring in new money and different ownership and different people, your job's always at potential risk, right? And because they're always looking to maybe bring in their own people, or a different thought process. And so there is a risk there, and I think it's a risk that probably doesn't get a lot of thought from a founder. That probably need to put more thought into it. I agree.
Well, yeah, and I think and thank you for answering that. I think it's to me, I found it was kind of an interesting question, because you got to be careful what you wish for, right? And and the reason I asked that question, and because it hit me as we went through this conversation, I think it's really important that these guys that are looking for capital, they're trying to grow their businesses, that they recognize who they are as individuals, what their morals, what their values are, what's important to them, where's their integrity lie, and align themselves with people that can actually speak to that narrative. And so when you talked earlier about, doing things for the socially conscious reading, integrity, use that word multiple times. You talked about, I think that, as much as you're going to interview people, the startups need to be thinking, is this somebody I want to work with? Where am I going to be in 5 years with this guy? And I'm curious to know, and I guess it's a question I'm going to have to ask somebody starting, but how much is that into the mindset? And I would think that maybe it is, maybe it isn't a little bit, right? Because the money's what they're looking at. And that's why I was curious about that 5 years, that company called, and you touched on it earlier, about inheriting, creating a culture, inheriting a culture. Right. It's definitely got to be a difference.
Yeah,
I love it. It's really cool. I want to shift gears a little bit on us and ask you a couple other questions and get off a little bit off the investment stuff a little bit. But what, you're very inspired right now, right? And I've known you a long time. You've got a lot of wind in your sail right now, because I believe that you are doing something that's touching your heart. And, I'm a big believer in inspiration. I think if we worked really hard, if everybody in this country would just inspire one person every single day, we'd have a much better vibe in this country. What inspires you? I mean, what fires you up, right? Because we all have to be fed emotionally, spiritually, physically, and all that stuff. So what inspires you?
Well, I mean, at this point in my life is giving back and making a difference, and really working with, young folks that are trying to, build something special and just provide guidance and mentorship. What I'm really enjoying right now is working with my two older boys. I have 4 kids, and when my one son's graduated, and he's working in one of our startups, like I mentioned, and so I get to talk with him every day. We talk about strategy. I help him, open doors, because he's selling a product that they sell. And it's in the food space. So I'm helping him open doors. We're talking strategy. It's a lot of fun. So, I'm helping and grooming him, just helping him learn how to have conversations, because, these kids, they go to school and they don't have any practical experience. And you know this better than anybody, Todd, we're in the people business, right? People need to like you. They're not going to do business with you. You may be the smartest guy that walks in the room, but if you don't have the social skills to connect with that person, especially if you're trying to sell something, concept, a product, or an idea, whatever it may be, they're going to be turned off by it. So, just helping them, helping my, sons, my other son, he's working for an investment banking company. He's doing an internship, and a couple of the deals that he's on are in the food space. So I'm helping him, and I'm helping him with strategy, and I'm having a lot of fun just working with, not only my boys on that front, but, in this startup stuff. It gets me excited to just be able to give back and really help and watch some of the stuff sort of happen. The other thing I enjoy is some of the guys that have left Kaido Foods. I take a lot of pride in watching a lot of those guys, move on and do really well. And some of them started their own consulting businesses, and some of them moved on to some other great companies, and they're doing really well. And they call me a lot of the times just for advice and guidance, and I'm there to help open up some doors and work with them. And I just got a phone call. They're working on a project, and they wanted me to come in to help them and strategize about it. So I just get really excited about those things, and I'm able to sort of do it when I want to do it, and just really get after it when I want to. So it's fun.
I love that. I mean, we both have kids, older kids, and having, and both of my kids are in the produce business, which my wife will get all the credit for them being super smart. I'll get all the blame that they're in the produce business. But, it's fun to listen to them. It's fun to listen to young people talk about the things that I remember talking about. And, and back then, when I started, we didn't have electricity back then, but way back then, there wasn't that sounding board and stuff. So I agree with you. Mentoring, giving back, taking a little bit of your time every day to inspire somebody. Said it twice.
That's right.
Is super, super important. I appreciate you sharing that. I really do. I think that is, it says a lot about you as a person, but it also says a lot about you in reference to what we've been talking about investment philosophy, right? I think sometimes being a capitalist is great. It's what built this country. Being a conscious capitalist is certainly is a skill set. And I love to hear the fact that, you were doing things with a moment of pause and reflection rather than, rushing to hit that third rung of the ladder. And I think that's commendable, dude. I really do. And I appreciate that. And so to me, back to you, it's like, hey, it is the right thing to do. I say to people all the time, even though I may not feel like it today, it's still the right thing to do. Right. And I appreciate you saying that. So now I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit. All right. I'm going to have a little fun with you now. We're going to play a little trivia. We're going to have a little fun. We're going to throw you out, see how much trouble I can get you with your family.
Okay.
So tell me right now, here we go. You ready?
Yeah.
You're playing for prizes too. Did you know that?
Right.
Did I tell you that?
No, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah. Wait, that's because you're not. I'm just lying to you right now.
All right.
So tell me one thing you do that your kids hate you for. How do you embarrass them?
Oh God. Would probably be just, I ask a lot of questions and, it gets on their nerves. Like I'm like over the top when it comes to just, like my younger son comes back home for football. So how did practice go? How did it go? What did the coach say? And he's just like, Dad, just leave me alone. I just got home. I want to eat. I want to shower. And I really don't want to talk to you right now. But I mean, I think my kids, I don't know about embarrassing, but the most annoying thing I do is probably ask too many questions probably at the wrong time. My timing's probably not the best, but I just get excited to see them and I get excited to know what's going on in our life. So it comes from a good spot, but I got to probably do a better job of how I, time my questions and how many.
Oh, they're young. They'll get over it. Hell with them.
Yeah, that's right.
Just look back and tell them you can always change the lock on the door, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You got the power. And as long as they don't say exist, you're good to go.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So give me something on your bucket list. What's something that's on that list you haven't got to yet?
You mean like personally?
Yeah, personally. What's on your bucket list? Something you'd like to do
So, my wife and I are getting ready to celebrate 25 years of marriage, which, it's
congratulations.
Yeah, in October. So we've never been over to Europe and we want to try to get over there and, check out some of the countries and enjoy it all. We're hoping to get there this year. Hopefully COVID doesn't, stop us from getting there. But that would be a bucket list item for us right now, for sure.
Well, COVID stopped here at 11:59 on a Tuesday in California. So you guys come here.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah. Awesome.
So tell me, let's see how good you, what's your favorite karaoke song? You're going to go up and fire up a little karaoke. What's your go-to?
Ooh, yeah. So I grew up, listening to Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, Bobby Darin. So probably, a favorite karaoke song of mine would be like, Lucky Lady, by Frank Sinatra.
I love it.
Yeah.
You know what? All you had to do was just say Frank Sinatra. You didn't have to name a song. It's like everybody's like, well, I can't. Frank, done, over.
Yeah, right.
There's nobody better. There's nobody better. I say it, one of the best concerts I've ever seen in my life is Frank Sinatra. He's amazing.
Oh wow, you were able to see him live. Oh,
I saw Frank Sinatra, and Don Rickles was his opening act. And Frank came out in a black tuxedo in front of 19,000 people and just owned the place. I mean, it was like, it was crazy. He was amazing.
Cool. Yeah,
it was very cool. He was very, very cool. You just talk about a presence, right?
Yeah,
definitely.
No doubt.
I mean, to feel like that amongst 19,000 people, it's like, it was pretty cool. Yeah. I'm a big Frank fan. So if you had a choice between French fries and a fully loaded baked potato, which one would you take?
French fries all day long.
Yeah, I don't know. I said the same thing when I was writing this down. I was like, you know what? I'm doing fries. I mean, yeah, I'm all about that. I love it, man. I thank you for sharing. Thanks for sharing from your heart and being honest, right? I mean, because I think
it's the only way to be.
Well, again, it is, and I agree 100%.
Yeah.
But I think people get this perception, perhaps, of equity and angel and VC, whatever names you want to put behind it, as being a little bit of the Pirates in the Caribbean, plumaging and doing different stuff, and they don't understand it. And I think it's important that people recognize that there's, it is about the heart, it is about value, it is about morals, it's about integrity, it's about believing in something beyond what that could potentially be as a business. And I appreciate your openness and your honesty in sharing with everybody today about that. But I do have one final question I want to throw at you.
All right.
If you could go back in time, back to 24-year-old, 22-year-old, 25-year-old Bob, What advice would you give him today?
Slow down, stop and smell the roses, just enjoy what you're going through right now. I think young people, and this is just me, but I think it's, but I think this is more people in general. We just, we just don't appreciate, the moment. And as you get older and you look back at things, and you just, at least for me, like I was telling you earlier, like my time at Kaido Foods, when you're young, it just goes by so quick, and you just don't appreciate sort of how special it was and what we're able to accomplish and build. And so if you're 20, just slow down, appreciate, and, I'd just say slow down and be patient,
I love it.
Yeah.
That's great advice. It's
Yep.
absolutely great advice. Bob, I can't thank you enough for hanging out, man. I can't.
Yeah,
I really
no,
appreciate
this is
it.
a pleasure, an absolute honor. And, thank you for letting me be a part of this. This is great.
Dude, it's totally pleasure is all mine. And you come back anytime. I think this
All
is
right.
a conversation worth having. I'd love to have you come back.
Yeah.
Let's, see what we want to do. Let's tackle some issues. Let's keep bringing it up in front of people, because people want to learn. And I think that this is a part of our business world that people don't necessarily maybe understand all of it. So let's keep it going. I think it's wonderful.
Yeah, no, I mean, I have no problem, chronicling my journey, in this sort of next chapter. It'd be sort of fun, and just, I'm an open book, and, hopefully people can learn from sort of what I've been doing, and, some of my mistakes and some of my wins. So, yeah.
I love it. Part two. We just decided we're having a part 2. I love it.
Awesome.
Thanks, brother. I appreciate it. Everybody,
right,
thanks to everybody for stopping by and hanging out with us. We appreciate you. Take care.
See you.
Hey, everybody. Thanks so much for stopping by and checking out this episode of Todd-versations. We're really excited to have you. Really pumped for our guest this week, Bob Kirch. Such a great cat. Really a lot of information about what goes through the mindset of somebody that's in the venture capital game, that somebody's out spending their money trying to improve company and enrich lives. I think what Bob does with KBB Venture Capital Partners is really cool. I think they epitomize conscious, stewardship. He gives us some great insights and some great thinking about what folks in his position think about and what they look for in young companies. So check him out. I think you're really going to enjoy it. Huge shout out to this episode sponsor, RJO Produce. Absolutely fantastic group of people to work with. They do such an impactful job in our industry, driving positive cost every day into the food supply. And I think that's something we need to embrace. So go check them out. We really do appreciate their support. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe. That's really important to make this thing keep propelling forward. Check us out on all the social media sites. That's where the cool kids are, and that's where we are. So check us out at TLC_Todd-versations. We appreciate your love and support. We appreciate all the positive feedback. We appreciate the suggestions of people to have on. We're excited about what's coming up next, and I hope you enjoy this episode with Bob. I think you're going to get something out of it. Take care, and remember, go inspire somebody today.